Welcome to Lesson 3, or Section 3 I should say, where we will create a chart. You should be in your Excel application book, open to Section 3. You should also have the file called Estimator 2 opened on your screen. We created this file in the first Section 1 problem when we worked on your first 5-point problem. We will now use the data that you saved in that first section problem to create a chart. Remember, the file is called Estimator 2. It is not the last file you saved in Section 2 called Estimator T. Note that this file does not have interest expense on it. Take a moment to look at your file. If you accidentally pulled up the wrong file that does have interest expense, then pause this lesson and go find the correct file. So, let's discuss the importance of charts in the business world. A chart is what many of us called graphs in our math classes. A chart is a technique used to display data in pictures or other graphical representations instead of numbers. Well thought out charts can help people and businesses make decisions based on the impact that the images provide. The graphical format of a chart makes it easier to understand large quantities of data and the relationship between different series of data. A chart can also help show the big picture so that you can analyze the data and look for important trends. Charts are often used with accounting data. Within the chart itself, you can add words or data labels to help explain what information is being displayed. As you go up the chain of command in a business, more and more business professionals are expected to be able to create and interpret graphical data. In this class, you will prepare charts as part of every assignment going forward. That means that both the lesson on charts in your Excel QuickBook and this follow-up problem in Section Problem 3 will be very important. In fact, it's so important that you should consider doing this short problem twice. You will be asked on all exams to create or interpret charts. So let's get started. After you are sure that you have opened the correct file, called Estimator 2, click on the Chart tab in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Before you work on this sheet, you must unprotect it. In Excel, go to the Review tab and select Unprotect Sheet. Mine is already unprotected. In general, a chart can be drawn by following these few steps. Decide on the type of chart that you want. Here's some general guidance. Pie charts are used for showing percentages or relative proportions of elements that make up a whole. We will be using a pie chart in this lesson. You are expected to know the various types of charts. These were all described in the charting lesson in the Excel QuickBook. We will be using a pie chart in this lesson. Depending on the version of Excel that you have, you will select the data, go to the Insert tab, and select the type of chart that you want. So let's scroll down to where your author located his data in cells D42 to E47. So first step is highlighting the 6 cells that have the account names on the left and the dollar amounts on the right. Once you've selected the data, go to the Insert tab, and again, depending on the version of Excel that you use, you would want to go find a pie chart. In this case, the author asks you to do a 3D pie chart. Notice that before I ever even click it, the Excel program is previewing my chart as I create it. So we have the beginnings of a chart. Notice that when I selected the Insert Chart, we had this Contextual Chart tab menu pop up. If you're using Excel 2010, you will see 3 chart items. In this version of Excel that I'm using, which is Excel 2016, we see 2. Most of the options are located in either the Design tab in my version or in the Layout tab in older versions. In any case, look at the different options. I'm ready to add some different chart elements. Data labels are very important. You can choose where the data labels will sit. Again, your screen may look a little bit different depending on the version that you have. I'm choosing that I want them on the outside end. And because a pie chart usually shows percentages, my pie chart right now is showing dollars and I need to change that. So locate the option to show percentages. And just as you're looking for them, I'm looking for them. It's under the Data Labels menu item. And since I don't see percentage, I'm going to go to More Data Labels. And I'm scrolling through. And here I want a percent. I want to remove the values, and you can decide what other options you want. In all cases, it's very important that charts have titles. I would suggest going forward in all of our charts that you consider adding the same 3-part heading that you learned about in Accounting 100. In other words, in all financial reports that you created in your Accounting 100 class, you learned a simple 3-part heading: who, what, when. The first line, the who, will be the name of the company. In our case, New Age Fuels. The second line will be the what. Again, remember, who, what, when. So the what would be a distribution of May sales. The third line would be the when. If you are charting information from the income statement, then you should define the period of time in the third line of the heading. If you are charting information from the balance sheet, then you should put the date that the data is as of. In our case, since we're charting the data for the month of May, we need to put that in. Looks like a pretty good chart. If you don't like the way it looks in this tab, you could always relocate it to another tab. And again, most of these options are found in the Design tab if you're using a current version of Excel, or in the Layout tab if you're using Excel 2010. In any case, I'm going to find the Move Chart location and tell it where I want to move it. I think I'll put it as a new sheet. in the Chart 2 tab. And you can always, as you know from the lessons, change the name of the tab if you don't like that. I'm just going to call mine Pie Chart. And that's a pretty good looking chart. One last thing. Your work should always have your name on it. You can either insert your name through a text box, or you can use the same 3-part header that we talked about in class. To put a header on the work, you go to Insert, Header and Footer. You choose the custom header, and once again you have 3 boxes. On the left is your name. In the center is the file name or the problem you are working on, in this case section 3. You could put the name of your file. I'm not sure what he has you call this at the end, so I'm just going to put estimator chart. And you should be looking at your turn-in sheet to determine whatever you think the best description of your problem is in the right-hand side. I will call this chart for May. It's completely up to you what you put in the right-hand column. So once again, charts are very important. As always, I'm going to preview my work. This one looks pretty good. If the top header crunches your other titles, of course you can adjust the margin. So let's recap what we just learned. First of all, decide on the appropriate type of chart. Then go select the data, usually located in a worksheet. Once you select the data, insert the chart. Once you've inserted the chart, add a 3-part title using the who, what, when concept that you learned in Accounting 100. Finally, consider using data labels. In this case, since we're using a pie chart, our data labels are percentages. And finally, remove any data that clutters up the chart or does not add meaning to it. Charts are very important, so please spend the time learning the appropriate techniques for creating a chart.